time is it? Good morning, and welcome to the Ventura County Transportation Commission regular meeting. I'm going to call this meeting to order. The time is 9:02. We're going to start with our Pledge of Allegiance, and can we have Commissioner MacArthur to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Wonderful, thank you for this opportunity. We'll just give it 1 second. Yeah, absolutely.
Ready.
Okay, we're ready. Okay, if you can repeat after me. Ready? Begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Great. Madam Clerk, can you please take roll?
Chair McQueen-Lejeune,
Here.
Vice Chair Parvin,
Here.
Commissioner Anderson, Commissioner Brogy,
Here.
Commissioner Crosswhite,
Here.
Commissioner Enegren, Commissioner Engler,
Here.
Commissioner Gorell,
Here.
Commissioner Halter,
Here.
Commissioner Judge,
Here.
Commissioner Lang,
Here.
Commissioner Levere, Commissioner Long, Commissioner Lopez,
Here.
Commissioner MacArthur,
Here.
Commissioner Tremblay,
Here.
Commissioner White,
Here.
Commissioner Roberts.
Here.
Thank you.
Great, thank you. We'll move to public comments. These are public comments that are not related to the agenda items. Madam Clerk, are there any public comments?
We have no public comments at this time. Thank you, Chair.
All right, we're going to move on to our Caltrans report. Commissioner Roberts.
Thank you very much. Good morning, Madam Chair, Commissioners, and Director Erickson. Today, I'd like to provide a couple of updates in addition to our regular Caltrans report. April is our Safety Awareness Month, and last week I was in Sacramento attending our statewide annual Workers' Memorial, in which we have a ceremony to commemorate all of those who we've lost, Caltrans employees that we've lost from working in the highway, killed while on the job. And so this really reiterates our commitment to safety, and by not forgetting that everything that we do is centered around not just worker safety, but for the safety of the traveling public. And so a few years ago in District 7, because we wanted to have the focus on safety, we created a Chief Safety Officer position that focuses on transportation and safety and operations. And some of you may have met our Principal Chief Safety Officer, Lee Haber. He will be presenting some information based on Supervisor Long's request at our last meeting, wanting some safety updates that we're doing for State Route 126. This report focuses on State Route 126, but you will see from Lee's presentation that his approach, which is the Caltrans approach in looking at proactive safety improvements, is something that we do across the board and across the district. So as we're moving our transportation projects forward, Lee and the team that he's created have made tremendous improvements in responsiveness and engaging with all of our stakeholders. So I'll turn this now over to Lee. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. Lee Haber, Caltrans District 7. Can you hear me okay, or do I need to be at the mic? Good? Okay.
Let me turn on the mic.
Probably help if you went on a microphone just so we can pick it up on the YouTube.
Got it. Test. All right. Good morning. Thank you, Gloria. Lee Haber, I'm here this morning. I'm joined with my team, a few of my team members, Brian Chu, Senior Engineer, Andin Granada and Roosevelt Langston, engineers, part of Brian's team. They've been working on State Route 126. As Gloria said, I'm the Chief Safety Officer. I have road safety responsibility in District 7. So for State Route 126, a little bit about what we'll be covering this morning. We're going to go over a little bit of the collision history out there, projects along State Route 126, and then next steps that our team is engaged in. So if I could get the next slide, please. Okay, so just to help orient everybody on State Route 126, starts over at US 101. It is freeway portion to roughly Halleck Drive west of Santa Paula, or in the Santa Paula, I'm sorry, east of Santa Paula. Continues as conventional highway through Fillmore and Piru over to into Los Angeles County. A couple quick items. The freeway portion, the average daily traffic west of the 118 ranges from 60 to 100,000 vehicles roughly every day. The eastern portion of the freeway is roughly 40 to 60,000 vehicles a day. And then the conventional highway portion, just around Santa Paula area, drops to between 30 and 45,000 vehicles a day. Speed limits on the freeway portion are 65. When we get into the conventional area, it ranges between 35 and 55, depending upon the locale we're in. The highway does continue roughly 4 miles east into Los Angeles County before it reaches I-5, and that is conventional highway as well. Next slide, please. All right, so collision data. Our focus here, you'll see, is we've got a number of different items for you. We've had a number of cross-median collisions over the years. We have roughly 10 years worth of data here from 2015 to 2024. The part at the bottom are actual rates. Those cover all the crash rates along the highway segment through that stretch. And we've had roughly 70 cross-median collisions on the conventional highway portion, which is around Post Mile 20, east of Fillmore, through to the county line. That resulted in 19 fatalities over this 10-year period. Our total crashes along the highway, though, is 1,339 with 36 fatalities. We have our average information down there. Our statewide average is based on facility type, so that gives us a comparison of the existing highway out there on the 126 against other highways within the state of similar characteristics. Our TASIS data, just so you know, when we provide the data through 12/31/24, our system, we draw items from CHP, the crash reports that come in. We have a verification process we do and a certification. So we are certified, and we've been told the data is good through December 31st, 2024. Other data is coming in and flowing in. The team in Sacramento will validate that data, mark things within the database so we make sure we've got accurate information within our data system. Next slide, please. So this slide here represents cross-median collisions that are fatals between 2015 and 2025. We added in the 2025 crashes that had come up starting in late 2024. These are information we received from news media and our conversations with California Highway Patrol. We used red font and red dots in areas for the more recent areas from 2023, 2024, and 2025 to help provide some context. A couple things I want to point out. If I work starting from the west side over Hobson Road area, you'll notice roughly 4 crashes there. 3 of those were DUIs in wet conditions. One of them was an illegal U-turn. Speed was a factor in all of those. If I move further east to Spalding, we had another unsafe speed in wet conditions. We get to Propane Road with a 2024 crash. We had an unsafe turn. Gavin Road in 2023 was unsafe speed, again, in wet conditions. That's where we've had rain events, pavement's wet, and can be more treacherous. Center Street area, that area we've seen a good reduction. The team here put chevrons and curve warning sign, had signs out there previously, and since those went in several years back, we've not had crashes in that area. So if you notice a concentration around Center Street, those improvements have done what we had asked them to do, and motorists are obeying them. Around Post Mile 31, we had 2 areas. 2018 was a medical condition. Another one was speed with a U-turn. And then around Post Mile 32.61, we had another U-turn condition in wet pavement. Post Mile 33.9 in 2019, motorist, driver fell asleep, crossover crash there. So those are the current ones. We are waiting traffic collision reports from CHP, and we're continuing to interact with CHP for the more recent crashes, and late 2024 into 2025. Given that there can be prosecutions involved and greater investigations, some of those take longer to reach our information database and be able to work through. Next slide, please. Okay, this is a chart for you of the cross-meeting collisions over these 10-year period. You can see that we had a peak in 2018, a drop through into 2020, and then some variation. We know that there had been some construction projects out there in 2020, 2021, and 2022. Those construction areas may have led to motorists changing behavior in some cases and affecting things. One important item to keep in mind is the construction projects we have done out there have included rumble strips on the right side and the median. Those are to help motorists that are fatigued or drifting to be alerted that they're leaving the roadway area and take corrective action before they depart the roadway or cross over. Next slide, please. So this one with our primary collision factors here, 27% are improper turns. That can be a variety of people pulling an illegal U-turn or making a U-turn in an area where they thought they had space and a collision occurred. Speeding, 25% roughly at 24 there. Influence of alcohol, over 20%, and that is a large problem. So we work with CHP on that. We'll be having additional discussions with them. They are doing enhanced enforcement at times out there. So other violations, our team looks through, these can roughly 16%, and then we just work our way down into smaller percentages on things. Next slide, please. All right, so team's been reviewing crash patterns out there in different aspects. So we have a variety of items we're working to get programmed. These are the projects that we have as candidates or small areas that are candidates for project work. We have a variety of funding sources. We have a small project group called the Minor B. It's for dollar value projects of just over $300,000. So we try to group areas geographically and small improvements for those. So here we've got three. They include upgrades at signals, installing chevron signs, as well as installing transverse rumble strips to alert drivers to transitions on the roadway, changing conditions out there. And also because of the length of the corridor and the fact some people get lulled into a sense of just driving the roadway and may become more relaxed at a higher speed, it helps to alert them to changing conditions and perhaps return them to more conscious driving. So these are first group of three. Next slide, please. Okay, this similar approach, minor B projects, we'll be working to group these in as we can program them. Installing radar speed feedback signs at a number of locations that we have out here, as well as chevron signs throughout the corridor. I can take a minute here if you guys got questions on any of these, but I can keep rolling.
Any questions?
Okay, next slide, please. Again, we're following more of our minor project work, installing speed feedback signs. Here again, another area with transverse rumble strips to alert drivers of the changes in the conditions, as well as alert them to speed in the area. And adding the chevrons and more activities like that through this area. Next slide, please. Okay. We're also working to program a larger project on a reactive safety project. We are looking at an opportunity for some median barrier in the section east of Piru, post mile 30 to 34. That roughly would take us to the county line. We anticipate a median barrier out there would extend most likely into the Los Angeles County portion of the highway a certain distance. We're working with our team to look at different options. We are aware of the different needs out there. We're trying to identify good starting and ending points, as well as other features we can get in there. We're looking at either concrete barrier, which is more expensive, or perhaps a high tension cable barrier. There's other features available. We're working to get those worked out with our headquarters team. We're also looking at coming through on a larger area of the west with a restripe project to add additional elements to the striping on the highway so it's more visible, especially at night or under rainy conditions. With what we call enhanced wet night visibility striping, there's a special bead that goes in that has better reflectivity properties for the conditions. And then the last thing is we're working to include various reflectors along various curves and along guardrail locations. These things help alert motorists to changes in the highway alignment, and we think that can also help the motorists stay on the highway and have awareness of what's going on. So these are all future projects that we are working on programming and obtaining the funding through our headquarters team. Next slide, please. We currently have a project in the design phase. It is on the freeway portion at the west. We are including rumble strips on the shoulder and other features, including newer striping materials out there. That work is projected to go to construction in winter of 2028. It's roughly $37 million is stated at this time, and that's on the freeway portion. Next slide. We also have a few projects in construction. First one is an encroachment permit project we are doing oversight. That's on Halleck Drive, where the conventional highway begins after the freeway portion. That work includes reconfiguring the intersection, dual left turn lane, new striping, bike lane, and other modifications there. Our teams have been working with the project sponsor, and that is slated to go to construction in spring of 2028. And then at Boozy Road, we are also in the process. There's an active construction project. We're working there to make modifications to the median striping, add additional guide signs. We're working with the construction team to have that work done by change order at this time. Next slide. So additionally at Fleischer Road, post mile 15, we're doing additional installation of curve warning signs in both directions. Again, that's by change order. We're working with our construction team. As they have funding, we'll be working to add these in. If we run into challenges, we will make shifts as needed to other projects that are planned and getting developed out there. And then at Clay Street, we're also working on additional signage for the existing bike lane out there within the city of Fillmore. That's the current projects in construction. Next slide, please. So, talked about different things our team is looking at. As we get additional data, we continue to evaluate that. We're working with our headquarters team to refine and better define a scope of work for cross-median collisions through the corridor, especially on the eastern end. We're also looking at different intervals between Piru and Fillmore for this. We also are interfacing with California Highway Patrol. We'll be using them to help us have better liaison with the local police department in Fillmore and others that are involved in enforcement and crash reporting. Our team will also be working with CHP to get a better idea of conditions on the road. We're also planning to get a scheduled dark review where our team will come out, we'll review the highway at night in dark conditions as well. So we have a better feel of different factors out there, issues that may not be visible. Obviously, during daylight, you do wind up with a change in the roadway. Off-highway lighting can be a problem at times. So we'll be looking for those sorts of things and where we can make additional enhancements. And then we just continue to pursue safety project implementation and different countermeasures. We'll work with the construction team as we are now for projects that are in construction. If we identify things to see what we can add in at that time as they can do it. We also work with our maintenance forces for small additions. And then we'll also be working with our headquarters team where we have the ability to program a reactive project to come in and take care of larger stretches. And that's what we're pursuing for the eastern portion, looking at a median barrier project out there. So at this point, that would conclude it. Questions?
Great, thank you. We're going to move to questions. We're going to start with Commissioner Engler.
Thank you, Chair. You mentioned that many of the accidents we've had along that strip have been speed related.
Yep.
I'm wondering, putting in the median barriers and things like that, is that acting as a traffic calming effect? Have you got any statistics that would support that?
So the purpose of the median barrier is to really prevent the crossover crashes. So if a motorist has a medical emergency, a vehicular failure, as has occurred in some of the crossover crashes recently, it'll prevent the vehicle from crossing into oncoming traffic, keep them on their side of the highway to mitigate the likelihood of the head-on crashes. In terms of speed management, it can have some effect. What we've found, though, typically is other features can have benefits. Roundabouts can be a very good speed management tool. The highway does have a fair amount of volume, and given that the different concerns and different conditions out there, plus the various uses. You have a combination of some small towns, cities in that area, coupled with agricultural use in different areas in between. Things we do affect different users. And so we're looking at different things we can do for speed management out there. Currently, we're working with CHP for additional enforcement. The radar speed feedback signs can be a very good tool because a lot of times people get lulled into that sense of comfort on the highway. They don't realize their speeds are creeping up. I know the modern cars, a lot of times you really don't realize how fast you're going because you don't get that feedback from the vehicle anymore at higher speeds with the engine noise, the changes in the suspension systems over the years. So we'll work with the radar speed feedback signs at this point. We're also going to look at some different features we can do. If we identify opportunities for roundabouts and other areas and locations out there, we'll be looking to implement those.
Well, thank you.
Great. Any other questions? Yeah, Commissioner Crosswhite.
One of the things that I've noticed is that there seems to be an increasing number of people, and I don't know if it's just in that section where you're looking at the median, I feel like I've seen it in other places, that decide that that middle area is a great place for them to use it as a passing lane.
Okay.
And that is clearly not a passing lane. So I don't know if there's things that can be done in areas where you determine a median of some kind can't be put in to discourage people from using that center lane, which it sort of divides the lanes right now, as a passing lane, because that is incredibly dangerous. And every time I see it, I think, why would you even think that that is an acceptable practice? But I've seen multiple people do it, and if I've seen multiple people do it, it's happening more frequently than it should be.
Okay, so we'll look at that. I would expect with the rumble strips, that would cause some people to avoid it. Yeah, we can look at additional countermeasures. Things we would look at would be potentially additional rumble strips, so it's not a comfortable drive. It'll be more noisy and impact their likelihood of doing that because the motorist will get that noise and difficult ride. We can look at additional features though as well. I'll work with the team on that.
Great. Commissioner White.
There you go. I really appreciate the rumble strips. Leaving Santa Paula, as a bicyclist, I feel a little bit safer when I can hear the people on the rumble strips. So I appreciate all those rumble strips that are going up the freeway. Thank you.
Yeah.
Great. Are there any other questions? Yes, go right ahead. Commissioner Tremblay.
Thanks, Madam Chair. Lee, thank you very much for your report, and thank you to your whole team and to our district director. Showing my advanced age, I used to work in the Sacramento office of the Ventura County Assembly member. This was in the late 1970s, and 126 was known as the deadliest highway in the state. I think the focus and the comprehensive nature of your work and the data is excellent, but it also precipitates a question. There was a slide at the very beginning on statewide averages, and I was struck by the data. I don't know if we still have that slide available.
We do.
It was right back near the beginning, but I was struck by the comparison of 126 with other freeways. And I wanted to ask you, you said that you compare them to other highways with similar characteristics, and so I jotted down a list. What are the most, I thought, specific types or lanes, volume of traffic, length of segment, comparable weather conditions, number of vehicle code violations over time. What are the most important criteria that you use to make sure that it's no, it's actually before the primary collision factors. It's way back in the beginning. What are the most significant criteria that you use to assess from a statewide average standpoint?
Okay, so the statewide average standpoint will be classifying the roadway, looking at the number of lanes, its median situation, is it a divided highway, an undivided highway, as well as what the left and right shoulders are. And these are taken and they're placed into a variety of categories. I can't recall the current number. We've been going through some updates on systems. I've heard something like 33,000 different categories or classifications for comparison. But the system we work through, and it's data that's in the system, just comparing these key features of the highway. It'll also look at the traffic patterns as well with the average daily traffic usage as well.
Average daily traffic. Okay. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you very much. Great report. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Great. Any other questions? Okay. Commissioner Broggie?
Thank you. Really appreciate the information in the report. And as a council member from Fillmore, this is something that is at the very top of my list of concerns for our community. And over the years, what I've seen and what I've learned from other reports and things of that sort, and also from Caltrans, is that, and I think you've addressed it, is that the major cause of especially the fatalities is crossing the center divider and speed, or a combination of both. And I just, in looking at all of these proposed solutions or possible recommendations on to reduce the number of fatalities, I don't see how anything other than the concrete dividers and more patrol, which is, a pie in the sky wish, are going to remedy these issues, these concerns, the fatalities, reduce those numbers. So I don't know what the likelihood is of that. I know you indicated that the concrete dividers are expensive. And at this point, it's got to be a priority. So
Yeah,
just my two cents.
and that's why we're working through it with our headquarters team. We're not limiting ourselves to concrete barrier. We are looking at another option, which would be a high-tension cable barrier. It has various characteristics with it. It can, I've seen it used in other locations, even on freeways. It does have a lot of good capability. The concrete barrier is much more rigid, so when you get into a crash with a concrete barrier, we typically see a lot more injuries and such. So we're trying to identify some different options out there. With concrete barrier, we also have to treat the ends of the concrete barrier with an attenuator. We'd have to look at drainage features and other things. There's a lot of detail work, whereas the high-tension cable barrier has more flexibility from what I have seen for installation. We just need to have sufficient space in the median. And some of these areas have that. And so that's what we're working through to identify so we can maintain various access points through that zone, as well as prevent or mitigate the likelihood of a head-on crash with a crossover.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? If not, thank you for your report.
Okay.
Thank you, Commissioner.
All right, thanks.
Okay, we're going to move on to the commissioner reports. Are there any commissioner reports? Did you have anything?
I don't have a report necessarily, but I do want to, Madam Chair, wondering if I could have something brought back for consideration of this panel. I had a brief conversation with Mr. Martin Erickson about the possibility of entertaining the idea of wrapping one of our buses, one of the VCT buses, in celebration of the World Cup that's coming, recognizing that we are heavy, we're just a heavy soccer community here in this region, particularly in Oxnard, where a city that I certainly represent. And I think in celebration of the theme of World Cup, I think it could, what I'm envisioning is wrapping it where we prominently display the U.S. national team and the other cultures that are prevalent here in our community, the Mexico national team, Costa Rica, Colombia, and others. And I think it would just mean so much to our community to see this bus. I think it's minimal investment, but it would mean so much to our constituents to see this bus driving up and down the freeway, proudly representing what we have here that is so strong, which is soccer, and representing the various cultures that are highly represented and present here in our region. So that's something that I'd like to put forward.
Great, thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Do we need to take an action, or is that enough? We'll go to the council. I think she's going to say something.
No need to take an action.
Great.
Noted.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, we're going to move on to the executive director report. Mr. Erickson.
Thank you, Madam Chair, Commissioners. Happy first day of May. A beautiful day. It's just hard to believe it's already May 1st. You have my executive director's report in front of you. I wanted to highlight a few items on my PowerPoint. But first, just wanted to thank Director Roberts for that update. And Lee, that was very timely on the 126. I know that's an issue we've been discussing for a while. And I'm just glad, again, for the partnership we have with Caltrans to continue to make progress on that issue. Next slide. So, as we have discussed before, some exciting news. I know you've seen the press release, and we are going to be restarting the train to Santa Barbara on May 4th, which is this Monday. And it's exciting, and any Star Wars fans in the audience, may the 4th be with you. So we feel like that is a kind of a good omen to start the train there. But this is very exciting, and exemplifies our partnership with SBCAG, our sister agency to the north, with LOSAN, and I want to acknowledge Commissioner White for serving on the LOSAN board, and also Claire Grasty, especially Transit Director and her team, Aubrey and others, Dolores, who have just been helpful in this project. It really was, as you know, kind of a topsy-turvy for a while, whether this was going to come about or not. But the schedule is listed here. We will be having a few little events, mostly there'll be some events in Santa Barbara, but we will be greeting passengers on Monday morning at the Ventura station, which will be the fairground station, at 7:11. So looking forward very much for that. And thank you all for your approving this and guiding this service. As some of you remember, this service was running for 2 years before the pandemic, and then was paused and never restarted. So grateful that the service is coming back, because as you all know, there are many funding challenges on the horizon. So really want to appreciate the partnership, and especially with the state coming together for the pilot project funding for this through LOSAN. Next slide. And May is also Bike Month. Quite exciting. As we have done in the past, we will be doing a series of events. There will be pledges. VCTC will continue to promote the benefits of cycling and the importance of riding safely, especially. And just we'll hear more about this later in the meeting from Caitlin Brooks, but we had that tragic event with an e-bike fatality just recently in Simi Valley. So with e-bikes in the mix, bike safety is even more important. It's always important. Commissioner White and I have attended the county's Public Works Day event and staffed the bike safety booth for many years, and I appreciate Amanda Fagan will be covering it this year, because I'll be at a conference. But Jim, I always think about all those school kids that come before us, and when we ask how many wear their helmets, not every hand goes up. In fact, and a lot of them go, I don't want to wear a helmet. So Jim and I sat with our helmets on the whole time, kind of like, you don't just have to wear it when you're riding your bike, you can wear it all the time. So, but we're, again, very excited for that. And I want to thank Darren Peshka and our outreach team for another great event for this. Next slide. And we had a great Earth Day celebration. A couple of VCTC staff there, Amanda and Darren. We continue to acknowledge and celebrate Earth Day along with many of the other transit operators, our partners, Gold Coast Transit, which is here, and of course Metrolink. But we find that getting people to think about public transit, whether it's taking a bus, riding a train, riding a bike, or walking to work, is just a great way to, I think, honor Earth Day all year round. I was recently at a conference where there was a discussion on bus propulsion and electric and hydrogen and CNG, and one person said, the greenest bus is a full bus. It's, when you get people to use a bus and fill it up, that makes a difference. Makes a difference in congestion, and of course in climate change, reducing climate change, and anyway, great Earth Day celebrations. Next slide. And that is it. I wanted to just note quickly, you've probably all seen it, and I know I was just speaking about this with Commissioner Parvin, but the Arroyo-Simi suicide prevention barrier is just about complete. So again, speaking of partnerships, thank you, Director Roberts and Caltrans for that project. I know we are looking at having some kind of ribbon cutting events in June that we're working on celebrating. And I also want to acknowledge Amanda Fagan of my team and just all the work, Commissioner Enegren as well as Commissioner Parvin who've been involved in this project, Commissioner Judge. It's great to see a project happen and actually happen a little bit faster than we anticipated at one point. So, but it certainly is a great event. So with that, I'm open to any questions.
Any questions for Mr. Erickson? If not, thank you. Okay, are there any revisions or additions to the agenda today?
No additions or revisions, Madam Chair.
Great, thank you. So we're going to move on to our consent calendar, but first we're going to have General Counsel speak to item 9J.
Yes, to the chair, this is on 9F,
9F.
which is, or is it, no, wait,
9J.
9J, you're correct. Yeah, 9J, which is the fourth amendment, the proposed fourth amendment to the executive director's employment contract. So under California law, when there are changes or proposed changes to an executive, public agency executive's compensation, those changes have to be announced orally at a meeting prior to a vote. And so I'm, in accordance with that requirement, I'm just summarizing that the proposed Fourth Amendment to the executive director's contract would provide an increase to the commission's contribution to the executive director's deferred compensation plan implemented over a 3-year period. The contribution would be increased from the current $10,000 contribution to $24,000 in 2026, to $28,250 in 2027, and to $32,500 for 2028, and that is the extent of the proposed compensation changes.
Great. I think everybody's good with that. No questions. This is a consent item, so we're not going to discuss it unless there's a request to pull it. But before we go there, are there any public comments to the consent calendar?
There are no public comments at this time.
Okay.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you so much. So we'll move to the consent calendar approval. So all items will be approved or enacted in one motion unless someone wants to pull an item. Is there a motion and a second to?
Move approval if Mike Judge didn't beat me out.
Okay, was that a approval? Is there a second?
I'll second if he's first.
Okay, great, thank you. Madam Clerk, can you take a vote?
Commissioner Anderson? Yes. Commissioner Broggie? Yes. Commissioner Crosswhite?
Yes.
Commissioner Engler?
Yes.
Commissioner Gorell? Yes. Commissioner Halter?
Yes.
Commissioner Judge?
Yes.
Commissioner Lopez?
Yes.
Commissioner MacArthur?
Yes.
Commissioner Lang?
Yes.
Commissioner Parvin?
Yes.
Commissioner Tremblay?
Yes.
Commissioner White?
Yes.
Vice Chair Parvin? Yes. Chair McQueen-Lejeune?
Yes.
Thank you.
Great, thank you. We're going to move to item number 10. That's the AB 2561 status of vacancies report. And this is a public hearing, and so we'll turn it over to staff.
Hi, good morning, Madam Chair and Commissioners. My name is Daisy Calderas. I'm a senior accountant at VCTC. The item before you is the Commission's annual public hearing regarding staffing vacancies as required under AB 2561. Under Government Code Section 3502.3, it requires local public agencies to provide an annual update on vacancies, recruitment, and retention efforts prior to a budget adoption. I'm pleased to report that VCTC currently has no vacant authorized positions. All of our budgeted positions are currently filled, which means that VCTC has a 0% vacancy rate. And since VCTC does not have any recognized employee bargaining units, the additional reporting requirements under AB 2561 do not apply. Staff continues to monitor workforce needs, and our normal recruitment processes are in place should any vacancies occur. And that concludes my report. Staff requests that the commission open the public hearing and receive any public comments. Staff also recommends that the commission receive and file the report. I'm also happy to answer any questions if you guys have any.
Great. So let's go ahead and open the public hearing. It's now 9:43. And we'll take questions. Are there any questions? We'll have comments later. Any questions? If there's no questions, are there any public comments?
There are no public comments.
Okay, no questions, no public comments. Okay, we're going to close the public hearing. The time is now 9:43.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, if I could I just wanted to thank Daisy Contreras for this update. This is her first presentation to the commission, and she recently joined VCTC. She's also a Fillmore resident, but she's part of Lupe Acero's finance team, and it's just been a fantastic addition for us. So I just wanted to acknowledge the good work she's doing on the finance team, along with Tao and Lupe and Mel. So thank you, Daisy.
Thanks.
In light of it being her first time, I've got like 10 questions here. I'm kidding, Madam Chair.
Okay, so this is receive information. So thank you so much for your report, and we're going to move to the next item. Item number 11 is Draft Ventura County Demand Response Integration Plan, and we are going to turn it over to staff, and you can introduce yourselves.
Good afternoon. Oh, sorry. Good morning. It's been a long morning. Good morning, Chair McQueen-Lejean and fellow commissioners. I'm Aubrey Smith, Program Manager, Regional Transit Planning. I'm here to introduce item 11, the Draft Demand Response Integration Plan, Customer Experience Plan, which is being presented today as a receive and file item. Just give a quick background before we get started. As part of the Short Range Transit Plan development effort, and with support from the SCAG REAP 2.0 grant program, staff procured a consultant team to assess and develop a plan to improve the overall rider experience as it relates to demand response services in Ventura County. Throughout the development of the draft DRIP, the operator feedback has been incorporated to ensure the plan aligns as much as possible with operator input and best practices. Based on this, the project team has developed a draft plan organized into two components. The first component is a customer experience plan, which focuses on what improvements can enhance the overall demand response service experience. And number two is the integration concept report, which outlines a technical framework that would be used if the commission and local operators choose to pursue integration for demand response services in the future. Together, these components form the foundation of the full demand response integration plan, which will be brought back to the commission at the next meeting. At this time, I'd like to introduce Andrea Briel and Dennis Brooks from AMA Transit Planning to begin the presentation.
Hi, everyone. Nice to meet you all. Thank you for having me. We can move on to the next slide. Okay. Oh. Thanks. Okay, so just kind of a brief overview of what this presentation will entail. We're going to give a quick overview of the timeline because it's been about 2 years for this planning effort. Some highlights on the existing conditions report, guiding principles for improving customer service on our on-demand services, the service and cost models for regional mobility and rides, as well as what integration looks like and how it's done. Okay, so just a little bit on kind of this effort that started in 2023. Over those years, we spent gathering the data, talking to the providers, talking to the riders and the general public to get all of our data. We spent 2025 kind of developing our existing conditions and the plan for integration. And then we took a pause, and this year we took that integration plan and we separated it into two, as Aubrey mentioned, into what we call a customer experience plan, really focusing on those real customer-facing initiatives, what we can do in the short term, and then the greater report about what integration could look like. Okay, so some highlights on those existing conditions. At a very high level, when we were speaking to the providers here in Ventura County, we saw that costs were increasing dramatically for cost per hour, cost per mile. However, ridership was either declining or plateauing. So obviously that is not a sustainable track, so we're looking at how we can do better. In 2024 and in 2025, a lot of the agencies took on what we call a dynamic scheduling system called RideCo. And that basically is kind of like an Uber and Lyft platform. It allows those operators to be much more efficient on scheduling rides and delivering those rides. And now we're in 2026. Obviously, software can only do so much, so we want to introduce some of those softer customer service policies that really enhance the customer experience and makes it easier to get around. Okay, so as Aubrey mentioned, the DRIP, as we're calling it, this acronym, is broken into two pieces. One is the customer experiencing plan, which I'll talk to about in a little bit in a minute, and then the integration concept report, which will be coming to you in June. The first focus on those kind of customer service goals, low-hanging fruit, things we can implement fast, and then the following report talks about really kind of the boots on the ground, nitty-gritty details of what integration means. Okay, so the CEP, as we mentioned, these are very small incremental steps. I know this concept of potential coordination, integration among many providers here in the county can be a little bit difficult, so we're going to start slow. We already have some county-wide things that are taking place. One that I mentioned is RideCo. Everyone, I believe Simi Valley is going to get on it pretty soon, but most of the providers are on RideCo right now. And all of the providers use one certification system to have ADA people be eligible for rides. So these are great foundational points that kind of unify the county on how on-demand services work. We're going to outline those actions to support, what the passengers requested, what we heard in a lot of our stakeholder engagement a few years ago, and really focused on improved travel, simplifying the system, and what we call regional mobility. Okay. So in order for the customer experience plan to be developed, we have to look at some kind of guiding principles. As we mentioned, there's the countywide ADA paratransit program that's already in place. But the first bullet point is kind of a natural one that we think about in public transit, and that is shifting general public onto fixed route services, and those that have trouble taking fixed route services onto on-demand. That way we can utilize the current bus system as it's meant to be for the general public and really focus on demand for those that need it most. All right. Third bullet is embracing dynamic scheduling. That is the RideCo system, which I'll talk about a little bit later. And then we also wanted to talk about kind of those easy to digest customer experience things such as one phone number and one mobile app, really making it easier for people to understand what services are available to them and not get confused with a lot of all the other agencies that exist, the phone numbers, what to download, what not. So those are the things that can make it easier for someone to understand. We can do this while keeping our call centers and dispatching localized at this point in time. And then we're going to also look into some of those uniform policy suggestions that we have, as well as uniform fare policy. Okay, so just a little bit about dynamic scheduling. Dynamic is just a fancy word for real time. Basically, it's having all of those inputs, whether it's construction, detour, accidents. It's enabling rides to be dispatched in a much more effective manner. And so we are encouraging operators to continue working with this company. It's highly sophisticated. They know where demand is most, where demand is least, when vehicles should be brought on, when vehicles can start to be pulled off the schedule. So constant communication with the software team will always enhance customer experience. And what it would look like to open up service boundaries. So we worked with RideCo to kind of simulate on the back end what happens when you open up those boundaries. Is the fleet able to move a little bit easier? Does it make sense if a vehicle's going all the way to the border to maybe serve a ride over that border? Those are the scenarios that we looked at in this plan. And then a little bit about kind of the one phone number. There is plenty of technology that allows these agencies to remain localized, but from the customer perspective, it is just one number. And a few of those things are what we would call geofence routing, based on a number of inputs. If someone calls, they know who to route it to, or an IVR, and that's a fancy word for a phone tree. But we want to make sure, again, that the customer is seeing those kind of simple, easy ways to get engaged on the services available to them. Okay, so why one mobile app? I know for those in their local community, they may get used to how that app works, but we also want to promote on-demand services at the county level, right? So there's a lot of potential users that may not even be engaged because they don't even know where to start, right? It may be difficult for future users. As a county ages, it's really important that we're looking at that demographic who may no longer be comfortable riding a car. And so we want to make these services easy to digest and available to them. And then just the third bullet that I've mentioned a few times, RideCo has a lot of these abilities to make things look uniform on the front end while still retaining, local jurisdiction and agency control on the back end. All right. So I apologize, this is going to get a little weeds into operations, but those uniform policies really help with what we call rider education. Okay, so just a couple bullet points here: no-shows and late cancellations. These are the things that we emphasize in the customer experiencing plan, so that if someone is traveling in one jurisdiction, the same rules and rider guide applies in the next jurisdiction, right? Dwell time, we want that to be uniform. So again, people know when they need to leave their house and board the van. It's easier when each jurisdiction has those same policies in place. And a point about negotiating trip times, okay? And so we want to be able to serve as many people as possible. And so if you introduce negotiation with those discretionary trips, going to the grocery store or CVS, it makes the system more effective than that rigidness of trying to adhere exactly to what the customer wants. And so if each jurisdiction can negotiate times, we can serve more people throughout the day. And a point on what we call a mix of advanced reservations, subscription rides, same-day trips, kind of this buffet of on-demand services allows all of those unique needs of the community to be met, right? So you do have people that may need dialysis twice a week, but you also have people that had no idea they needed to pick up a prescription and they need that ride today. Right? So being flexible and accommodating that kind of mix of rides is really important for each of the agencies to take hold. And then uniform fare policy. I know fare policy can be complicated, but at least having something easy to understand and digest by the customer, whether they're in Simi Valley or Ojai, it will make the experience more pleasant and easier to understand for everybody. Okay. Regional mobility. So our bigger report talks about how to potentially integrate the on-demand services throughout Ventura County. There are ways we can do regional trip making in a pilot form in the very beginning without full integration, okay? And the 3 bullet points talk about what we call a trip brokerage, and that's where you would take a lead agency that handles the administration and scheduling and then dispatches it to the most effective provider. There's another option where you would actually contract with a third party to administer these rides, okay? And they have the ability to broker out that ride. Or you have one lead agency that has a dedicated fleet and staff for regional trip making. The report goes into very big detail on what these service models looks like, but there are ways that you can serve rides across Ventura County without full integration in the near term, okay? This is just a slide on what potential branding ideas can look like. Obviously, this is the foundation of what we call awareness. Again, making it easier for people to digest what it means to go across the county and potentially one-seat ride. Ensuring that all riders, various of language or ability, can use the service. This allows the local agency to retain their logos on the back end still for their local service, but from a regional perspective, there would be a brand that makes it understand what services are available across county. And then just the last point, who is operating it on the back end doesn't necessarily need to be known by the customer, just that the brand is there to understand for someone who's new. Okay, so how does this actually get started? In our report, we do recommend a neutral voice, or what we call a client rep, to kind of lead the process in these customer service initiatives. We understand Transcom is a great committee that already exists, and so we would leverage that committee to look at those kind of tangible results to increase the customer experience and region mobility and making it less difficult to get across the county. We would use Transcom to focus on those, tangible outcomes that we would like to see, measurable improvements, and ensuring that a lot of these principles are being met and that we're reducing the barriers to on-demand services. Okay. So what does integration look like? We have a variety of steps there. We first talk about contracting with a client rep or some type of a third party that can come in and really help lead those efforts, develop the MOU that would spell out those roles and responsibilities, talk about fair alignment and how that relates to what's being recommended in your short-range transit plan. Work on those policy coordinations that we spoke to in the slideshow, and then really focus in on those kind of tangible things like the one call number and the one mobile app. And then step 6, analyze and implement the actual, what we would call the regional rides, the ability to go from one area of the county to another, potentially on one seat. Okay, and so what the full big report looks like that you'll be receiving in June, obviously this directive came out of ties, and so the document is going to be listing all of those existing conditions from all of the providers throughout the county. It identifies all of the challenges, some of the fragmented policies that we've witnessed, the rising cost and the declining productivity, and then provides recommendations as well as examples on service cost models and fare models on what integration can look like. Obviously, what RideCo has to offer in addition to what it's already been doing, and that will be coupled with the customer experience plan. Next steps, we are going to be receiving feedback from the Commission. We've been speaking to the local operators throughout the entire process and present the report to Transcom in May and bring back the full report to the Commission in June. Thank you so much.
Any questions? Any questions? Is there another portion, or is this the complete?
This is it.
Okay, great. Any questions? If not, this is a receive and file. Mr. Erickson?
Can I just make a comment?
Sure.
Question. First, I just wanted to thank Claire and the transit team and the consultants. Alma's worked in the past with us, so it's wonderful to have their continued help. And thank the commissioners, because many of you were interviewed and along with your staffs, and I especially just want to acknowledge Commissioner Anderson and Commissioner Gorell for their interest in this. And this is a tricky subject, but a critical one. So I'm glad that we are moving forward with this plan, and just a thank you, all of you.
Great. Oh, Commissioner Gorell?
Yeah, thank you. I just want to add to Director Erickson's comments. I'm grateful for all the work that's gone into this. It's really the best outcome given the challenges of the parochial nature of the funding here. I appreciate the effort to get there. I'm a little cynical about us getting to really a truly integrated system until such time as the local jurisdictions, the cities essentially give up their resources to create a centralized, one-stop, one organization, countywide paratransit. I came as a board member from Sacramento County Paratransit, appointed by the mayor up there, and it's still a challenge when it's one organization. And I'd love to see the pilot, and I hope we learn from it. And I'm just grateful at all the policy gymnastics you've had to do to contort into what will hopefully be the closest we can get to fully integrate, given the challenges of local jurisdictions not wanting to give up their resources. And it's what you've done so far is really admirable. I mean, we need to deploy you to challenge places in the world to provide diplomacy. And as Director Erickson said, this is a tricky issue, and you ran right into it. And I'm super grateful for what you've come up with so far. I'm really looking forward to the next phases. And please count on me as a commissioner to help in any way through that process, and just want to say thank you.
Thank you.
Great, thank you. Commissioner Engler?
Yeah, thank you. Coming from Thousand Oaks as one of those local providers that has some hesitation on this approach, I think the goal of a regional integration is a great goal. But I would urge you, I know speaking to our staff, there's some reservations that need to be worked out with our staff. And I would urge you to continue to work with our staff in coming to some conclusions on that. So I appreciate the work that's been done so far. I think the goal is a wonderful goal, but please bring our staff along as well.
Absolutely.
Any other questions? Commissioner Anderson?
Thank you. I just wanted to echo some of what Commissioner Grohl mentioned. Thank you for all the work. I've been remaining probably more involved in this process than Claire would really want me to be, but I'm very passionate about this as probably the only person in the room who experiences on a regular basis being reliant on paratransit services in Ventura County. So I'm very into this subject, and I just want to bring to light a lot of things that have occurred over this. I know that the regional piece is really the hardest thing that's part of this, right? The one phone number thing, I think we can all agree is great. Who doesn't love a phone tree, right? The one app, the RideCo, all of these are wonderful passenger-facing improvements that are really low-risk, high-reward items. So I'm glad to see those coming through as kind of a phase one, if you will. As far as the regional things go, I have to be honest, some things have come up through this process that I feel need to be discussed. Some voices have raised things, and I want to clarify that, first of all, disability is not a bad word. Paratransit is not a bad word, so we can say that, right? But also, people with disabilities don't just go to the doctor. We actually have lives and go out and do things. So we need to leave our town. Let me get to Thousand Oaks and have it not take 5 hours round trip to get to dinner. So figuring out how we can make things like that better. We work as well. So, we don't always work in the town that we live in. I live here in Camarillo. When, and it's not if, when I am reliant on paratransit again, I will still work in Ventura and need a door-to-door service that can get me to my full-time job. So these are, important things that we're looking at. So I just really think that it's important that we, as commissioners, understand that, moving Ventura through these different options is, we're not doing a favor to people with disabilities. We need to make public transit the choice that works for everybody, including people with disabilities. And I think that that's what we're trying to do through this DRIP process, is have options that are available for everyone that make people with disabilities not feel like we're doing special things for them, right? We need to figure out how we can integrate and just make it a smooth process for everybody in our county to travel. And I know that that can maybe be hard for people who don't have the experience to understand. So here I am, guys. Ask me questions anytime. And you know, I don't know if there's a way that we can do I don't know, maybe you guys should take a week and live it. I don't know if we can make that happen, Martin. But take a couple days of not driving and needing to use paratransit and fixed route to get around and see what it's actually like, because I think it's easy for us to maybe set aside these things without actually having the experience. So I appreciate all the work that's been done, and I'm here to help and be a subject matter expert in any way that I can. Thank you.
Great, thank you, Commissioner, and thank you for your comments. I needed to hear that today too. We forget, and so maybe we need to hear it more often as well. Thank you for that. Any other questions? Comments? I don't believe we have any public comments.
No public comments.
Great, thank you. And this is a receive and file, so thank you so much for your report, your very detailed report, and thank you for all the comments. Okay, we are going to move to item number 12, the Ventura County Bus Stop Inventory and Assessment Project Update.
Good morning, Commissioners. Madam Chair, my name is Dolores Lopez. I'm the Transit Planner. I'm here with VCTC, and item 12 is a receive and file presentation for the Ventura County Bus Stop Inventory and Assessment Project Update. I do want to highlight that this is the first comprehensive plan assessing bus stops throughout the county. We used funding from SCAG's REAP 2.0 funding, and to present this item, we have Natalie Chiba from Fair & Peers who will get us through this.
Good morning, Commissioners. My name is Natalie Chiba. As Dolores said, I work for a company called Fair & Peers, and we've been helping you all with your first bus stop assessment. This bus stop assessment included all 1,100 plus bus stops throughout the county across all 9 transit agencies. And again, this is the first time VCTC has done this, so it was a really fun exercise to do with you all. And this work really included 3 components. First and foremost, the inventory. Second, getting some rider feedback on the amenities that are at the bus stops today. And then helping do some prioritization, thinking about what future investments at bus stops could look like across the county. We started last summer. It's been a busy 9 months or so. Spent all fall visiting all 1,100 plus of those bus stops across the county, documenting existing conditions, taking measurements, taking photos, really putting that inventory together, followed by some rider engagement. And then this year really focused on pulling it all together and doing that prioritization exercise. All right, so what's at our bus stops? This inventory included not only stop location and coordinate information, route information. Many bus stops are served by multiple agencies, so making sure that all of that information is housed in one place. Amenities at each of those stops and the condition of amenities at each of those stops, as well as some accessibility and access considerations as well, and then a photo documenting the bus stop at that point in time. Just a quick snapshot here, about 60% of stops in Ventura County have a place to sit. Almost 70% of stops have lighting, some form of lighting either provided by the shelter itself, by a neighboring business, or by street lighting. And then about a third of stops have schedule information. Just some points on accessibility. Over 60% of stops are near a marked crosswalk. 94% of stops have sidewalks. Of those 6% that don't, the majority of those are in rural, unincorporated parts of the county. And almost 90% of stops have space for the wheelchair ramp to be deployed. All of this information was consolidated into a web-based dashboard that's available to all 9 agencies and municipalities across the county. You don't need GIS, you don't need some fancy software. You can just open this on your browser, and you can also update it on your browser. So all transit agencies and city staff will have the capability of keeping this updated as investments are made across the county, because really the inventory collected last fall was a point in time. Bus stop condition and bus stop amenities are dynamic. And so wanted to make sure that that ability to keep this inventory updated was provided as well. All right, rider feedback. So we got over 500 survey responses across all 9 agencies, promoted in English, Spanish, and Mandarin via signage at bus stops across the county. And really what we heard was, first and foremost, people wanted a place to sit. And second most important was shelter from the elements. And third, real-time arrival. And what was interesting is across the board, across all amenities, riders wanted these improvements at stops that had the longest wait times, right? The stops that they are waiting the longest for the bus and therefore spending the most time with those amenities. The second highest priority for riders was stops in hotter areas and in direct sunlight, right? Really wanting to make sure they have a place to rest if waiting in the sun. A few other key takeaways, again, shelters, priority for riders, and also where they were the least satisfied, wanting to see more shelters across the county. Just a note on our survey respondents, most were frequent and long-term transit riders, so folks who have a lot of experience riding the transit system across the county. We did kind of dissect our survey responses across demographics and really found consistency, particularly across the broader population, women, seniors, and youth. So what comes next? We conducted a prioritization exercise across these almost 1,200 bus stops. First and foremost, prioritizing investments at stops that have the most riders, really where we can make the most impact with that investment. We looked at SCAG's priority equity communities, looked at stops in high heat areas, again, kind of directly responding to that ask from riders that were prioritizing amenities in those higher heat areas. Also prioritized transfer stops, really stops that are serving multiple bus routes and therefore have a lot of activity at those stops. And last but not least, making sure that we are prioritizing investments at those 12% of stops that don't currently have a wheelchair landing area. We then divvied up the stops across the county into these 6 categories. The first is really your standard stop and kind of setting the suite of improvements or amenities that should be kind of default at these standard stops, being shelter and a place to sit, lighting, and a route schedule and map. At those transfer stops, adding to those amenities by including real-time arrival. Again, these are stops that serve multiple routes, and therefore riders are looking for information across multiple routes, sometimes multiple agencies, and so wanting to make sure we're providing that real-time arrival information. There are several stops across the county that are space constrained. They don't have the sidewalk width to accommodate a shelter. We split those stops into 2 buckets, kind of lower priority stops that didn't necessarily meet all of those indicators that I included on the slide below or before, and opted in those cases to provide a bench, but not a shelter. And again, that's because in these space-constrained stops, it's very difficult to maintain ADA compliance while also providing that shelter. In high-priority space-constrained stops, these are locations where we determined it was worth the investment to try to extend that sidewalk to provide the full suite of improvements. School stops, these are just 4% of stops that are served only by school routes. And really the amenities here should be made on a case-by-case basis. These are typically lower ridership stops served maybe once, twice a day, associated with school pickup and drop-off. And last but not least, those 6% of stops that do not have sidewalks today, really flagging those for additional investment from the local jurisdiction before adding in those amenities. So where we landed is over 300 new shelters and 300 new benches, a little over 150 new real-time arrival displays, making sure that route and system maps are kind of provided across the county, and again, in those more space-constrained stops that are higher priority, investing in that sidewalk extension or a bus bulb so we can provide a shelter as well. And that concludes our presentation.
Great. Are there any questions? Commissioner White?
Thank you very much, Chair. And thank you for your report. As a person who rides the bus at least twice a week, I try to go around town and see what these bus places look like and talk to the people that are there. And one of the questions that they have is, why don't we have any maps and schedules on all of the stops? A couple of them they do, and then they get to a stop where they don't know exactly when the bus is going to be there, and they don't use their phone to figure out when it's going to be, or they try to look at a map and they're confused. These are transit-dependent people who depend fully on those buses. So I appreciate the idea of getting more maps on all the near the bus routes, not bus routes, I'm sorry, bus stops, so that when they get to the bus stop, they can see exactly when that bus is going to be there in the next 5 minutes or in the next 30 minutes. So thank you very much for your report.
Thank you.
Great. Commissioner Anderson?
Thank you. I'm just curious, I saw that 88% have space for the ramp to come out. Do we have a formal policy? What happens in those 12% where it can't? If there's a wheelchair, do the drivers pull up further? I mean, how does that work? Do we just not serve wheelchair users at those stops? What is the policy there?
It's stop by stop and operator dependent. The wheelchair ramp is essentially ADA defined as being 5 by 8 with a cross slope of 2% across all dimensions of the ramp. Many bus operators can deploy the wheelchair ramp with less space than that, still able to serve wheelchair riders. And so it's very case by case, but the 88% are essentially the stops that do have that 5 by 8, 2% cross slope.
Okay. So we're not turning anybody away at those 12%. That's what I want to hear.
I personally can't answer that. I feel like that's
Is there a
transit
written
agency
policy on that? Thank you, Matt.
Good morning. Great question. No, we aren't turning anybody away. Operators can use different areas of the stop to deploy the ramp or lift as needed. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
All right. Any other questions?
Just
Sorry,
a quick
Mr. Erickson.
comment. Thank you, Madam Chair. Just wanted to thank Dolores Lopez for her work on this, and Fair Peers. Natalie, nice to see you again. When I was still transit director, which is a while ago now, we have always wanted to do a project like this because it's needed, and funding was always a challenge. So the REAP funding helped a lot, and I also just want to acknowledge Commissioner Judge for his role as chair of the SCAG Transportation Committee, because some of you might remember we received this funding, then we were told it was not going to come through. So his advocacy helped a lot to make sure we did receive it after all, and I would argue we're spending it extremely well and usefully, so thank you.
Great, thank you. Madam Chair, do we have any public comments for this and the next two items?
We don't have a public comment for item 12.
Okay.
We do have a public
Okay,
comment.
got
for
it.
item
Just
14.
want to know if I should keep asking. Okay, thank you. And no more questions? If no more questions, thank you so much for your report. Thank you. Okay, we're going to move to item number 13, Community Traffic Calming and Pedestrian and Bicycle Safety Program.
To the chair, I am going to recuse myself from this item. My husband works at the parent company of the consultant that's seeking a contract amendment. Steve Mattis is available by phone if there are any legal questions that arise.
Great, thank you.
All right. Good morning, Madam Chair and Commissioners. My name is Caitlin Brooks, and I'm the Program Manager
for transportation planning here at VCTC, and I'm here with item 13, the Community Traffic Calming and Pedestrian and Bicycle Safety Program. So as Martin said, I just wanted to touch on, this is the fourth project. All four of the REAP 2.0 projects are on our discussion agenda today, and this is the fourth, the Community Traffic Calming Program, and we also call it the CTCP. And then you also heard about the transit stops inventory, paratransit, and then next up is the Santa Paula Branch Line Master Plan. So some project background, this project kicked off in 2025, and this is the first time we're bringing an update to the board. The goals of the Community Traffic Calming Program are to develop educational safety campaigns and project recommendations with preliminary engineering of safety improvement in 3 key locations. It was 5 key locations, and that's a part of this scope modification that we're requesting today, and I'll get into that in a little bit. And this project builds upon the strategic plan in the Ventura County Freight Corridor Study. This project was a recommended outcome of the Freight Corridor Study, and so we were following up on grant funding and pursued this project as a result of that recommendation. So the original project scope includes the Community Traffic Calming Program, and it's a technical memo broken up into 3 parts. It includes a existing conditions and data collection report and safety analysis, a collision hotspot map, project recommendations, a targeted safety educational campaign, and then ultimately project recommendations with engineering. So the first part of the technical memo was to include a safety analysis, and the purpose of the existing conditions was to understand how past transportation and land use decisions have impacted the health and safety outcomes of people living and working in Ventura County. We reviewed the existing plans and projects and incorporated them into part 1 of the technical memo, and that includes active transportation plans from the local cities, and additional projects including the County of Ventura, and then capital improvement plans. So this is part of part 1, the technical memo framework. It's broken into 6 chapters, and it helped us really narrow down a focus of key areas that we wanted to look at countywide. It includes some great infographics that we could use for our safety educational campaign. And so I'll go into a little bit of the part 6, the scorecards. So this was a great way for us to analyze each city and compare it to the countywide average. And as I said, it helped us really narrow down where we wanted to target these areas and bring it to our technical advisory committee to get recommendations on where we should really focus our efforts. So we have a technical advisory committee, and this purpose of that advisory committee is to really help guide the direction of this project, where we wanted to focus, including how we wanted to do our safety educational campaign, the types of things they wanted to really narrow in on, and then also help us decide the locations of these temporary demonstrations. We have a very large county, and so narrowing it down to 10 and then to 5 and now to 3 was a challenge. This is our TAC membership. We have a wide variety of participants, ranging from members in law enforcement, public works, education, healthcare, and bicycle advocacy groups, and other sectors. So our project schedule, as I said, we kicked off in 2025, and here we are in May. A part of our scope modification we're requesting today is to extend the schedule to December 2026. So now I'm going to move into our safety improvement demonstrations. We're also calling them pop-up safety projects. Oops. This is an example of some of our pop-up demonstration samples. Curb extensions, bike lanes, reduced curb radius. It's a temporary demonstration, so it's really only meant to be one day. Some of the feedback we heard from the community and our TAC was perhaps not to use orange cones because people can confuse that with traffic construction. And so maybe they won't use a bike lane if they see the cones because they don't understand it's meant to be a bike lane. And so we've gotten some really great feedback that we've incorporated into our pop-up safety pilots. So how we narrowed it down to these 3 locations, I'll start with the safety analysis that we did and then what led us to those final spots. So we started with a crash analysis. We used Tim's data, which is based out of Switter's data, which comes from law enforcement reporting collision data to the state, and then they narrow it down, and that's where we pulled information for this study. And that gave us collision hotspots where we could focus on where are our major areas of interest. We then scored for considerations like unsafe speed, where are people speeding the most, where are people riding their bikes and walking the most, and then also equity areas in the county.
We then did additional screening. Were these locations included in an active transportation plan? And our job would be to elevate those projects. Are they brand new projects? And are there any notable landmarks or destinations nearby? Are there doctor's offices, grocery stores? Are a lot of people moving in and out of that area? And then do we have geographic spread across the county, both in East and West County? And then we also narrowed it down to local roads of 35 miles per hour or under. We then took all of that information and we brought it to our Transportation Technical Advisory Committee, TTAC, our partner public works agencies, and asked them if they would be willing to take on this role in this project and help us in preparing a committee, doing the outreach, and then ultimately if they would be ready to take these engineering plans and commit to applying for grant funding in the future. Based on that feedback, we narrowed it down to these 3 locations, and these are where we are planning to have pop-up safety pilots in the city of Oxnard at Woolley Road in Victoria, in Simi Valley at Sycamore and Cochrane, and then in Ventura along San Nicolas. So I'll start with the pop-up safety project in Ventura. It's along San Nicolas in between McMillan and Hearst. The plan is to have traffic circles or roundabouts at Santa Cruz and Jordan, curb extensions and access ramps at Coronado and McMillan and Hearst. And then the big part of this project will be a diverter on South Catalina, which basically will prevent people from turning onto San Nicolas. They will have to continue to the signalized intersections, which basically is trying to divert people back to Thompson and Main and not have them use San Nicolas to speed through, to try to cut through. And there's a high school nearby, and so we've seen that as a potential issue, and we heard that from the city of Ventura. And this is a temporary demonstration. It's planned to be up for about 30 to 60 days. This is our longest of the 3. And I've gone to the Midtown Ventura Community Council in February. I'll be back in May. We're trying to get the word out so that no one is surprised when this installation is installed. And we are targeting the week of May 18th. The next one is the pop-up safety project in Simi Valley. It will be at Cochrane and Sycamore. It is a 1-day event, and it will have curb extensions at each corner of the intersection, basically bulb outs to make pedestrians more visible as they cross the street. Our next pop-up safety pilot is in Oxnard. It will also be 1 day, and it is a protected bike lane along Woolley Road. And we're looking at potentially having, it's still up in the air, but cones along with bike paint, and diverting bicyclists to use the bicycle lane in this area. And there will also be surveys there to ask people if, when they're using it, if they felt safer, how they, was it easy to find? Would they use it again? Did they support it? And things like that. So this is another extension of the pop-up in Oxnard. And then for feedback, we will have a story map website that includes information about the project. People can provide their feedback there, or they can send it to their the project emails. And then we will also have a survey. So this is our community survey, and it will ask people how they participated in the event. Were they driving, or were they walking or bicycling? I think that gives us a better understanding of how they feel about the project. And then there will also be a data collection component of this project. They're going to go out there and monitor speeds before the temporary pilots go in, and then during, to see, did people slow down? Did they take a look at this? Did they feel safer? Polling the bicyclists and pedestrians at the locations during the pop-up events. So it's our draft event flyer and social media. We have one for each of the 3 cities and then one with all 3. Each city has an opportunity to, or they have given us feedback for a 4th social media square where they can tie back something specific to their city. So does it tie into their active transportation plan? Is there something they want to highlight specific to their location? So now I'm going to dive into our safety educational campaign. Our TAC provided these 3 main focus areas. No surprise here, e-bike safety was the #1 topic. Wrong way riding, educating both riders and drivers, and then unsafe speeds. So we have all of these social media squares that we've shared with our partners and local agencies, targeting e-bike safety. They're all provided in both English and Spanish. We wanted to focus on really targeting people riding e-bikes and making them aware that because e-bikes are heavier, they crash harder, it takes them longer to stop, bringing awareness to this issue. Wrong way riding, which is one of the leading causes of collisions for bicyclists in the county, making sure people are following the rules of the road. And then also for drivers being aware to look out for bicyclists everywhere, not just where you expect them to be. And really the focus of this campaign is to not just focus on bicyclists or pedestrians or drivers, that we have a shared responsibility of all users in the road. And, we have really humanize it. It's people that we're talking about here. It's our neighbors, it's our friends, and making sure that we really promote safety as part of traveling throughout Ventura County. So this is another one, unsafe speeds. The slower you drive, the more likely they are to survive. So now I'm going to go into our parent and caregiver support materials. So one of the scope modifications for this project is we were planning on having bike rodeos throughout the county. And the group that hosts the bike rodeos are at capacity for bike rodeos. They could not take on anymore, which is a good thing. They also received a SCAG grant for that project. And so we worked with them to see what other materials could they use moving forward. And so they said what they would be interested in, and what we were also interested in, was parent and caregiver support materials, sending something home to educate the parents after the children participate in the bike rodeos. So we worked with our TAC to come up with some topics to really focus in on for these parent caregiver support materials. Some of the things were buying an e-bike for your child, an explainer of classes and laws, biking infrastructure where these bikes, both bikes and e-bikes, allowed to go in the different types of bike lanes throughout the county, and then complete streets advocacy. How, if you are supportive of bike lanes and increased active transportation, how can you get involved at the local level? So this is an example of one of the things that's in the parent caregiver support materials. It's a guide on how to choose a bike for your child. From what I've heard at a lot of these neighborhood council meetings and seen, is parents are confused on what types of bikes they can buy for their child. They think they're buying an e-bike, but what they're actually buying is an motorcycle, which is not allowed on the road. And so that is what another part of the focus of this parent caregiver support materials. So this is another one, how do you classify it as, is it an e-bike? Is it legal? And on another note, we watched the Board of Supervisors hearing the item about specific to e-bikes on Tuesday, and we've connected with Commander Tennyson to sort of see how we can partner as part of this project with the parent caregiver support materials, or if we have other resources where we can partner to really focus on the education and engagement part of this project. So this is our request of scope modifications for this project. We are reducing the number of temporary installations from 5 to 3 based on the survey that we received from our local agencies. And we're planning on doing a longer duration, but that also came with requests from the cities that we are partnering with. They want stamp signed plans, which are expensive. And so we are requesting the scope modification to increase the budget and then to move from 5 to 3, focus our materials instead of bike rodeos, do parent caregiver support materials to send home, and hopefully for us to distribute and partner with local school districts and take that beyond this project. And then in association with reducing the pilot projects, also reduce the project recommendations with preliminary engineering, and then transfer the money from the transit stops inventory and accessibility assessment to this project, bringing the total budget to $570,000. So our next steps for this project, we will be hosting the pop-up safety pilots this spring. They will be upcoming in May and June. And then our walk audits in the community of Nyland Acres in this summer, and launch our community feedback survey. There are emails, 3 emails for each of the cities, or any part of the survey. It all comes through us, and we will incorporate the feedback we've received into these per-minute engineering design drawings, and then coordinate with our local agency partners moving forward to hopefully apply for grant funding in the future. And we will be bringing this project back with a full traffic calming plan in this summer and fall. So with that, this is our staff recommendation: receive and file the presentation, authorize Martin to execute an amendment with Nelson Nygaard Engineering for consultant services for the revised scope of work, and then authorize the executive director to amend the amendment with SCAG also to increase the budget for this project. And with that, I'm happy to answer any questions you might have.
Are there any questions? Any questions? I think Commissioner Lopez.
Thank you, Chair. I know it's a little far.
Yeah.
Thank you, Ms. Brooks, for the presentation. I had a question about the pop-up events, specifically I didn't catch the time frame for the one in Simi Valley, but a question about the one day in Oxnard. Will there be staff on site throughout the day?
There will.
And- Okay, and will there be someone who is bilingual? And what are the hours of the pop-up?
It's tentative on the hours. I'm not exactly sure. We're shooting for May 30th, but that's our tentative date, working with the city of Oxnard. There will be staff on site. I'm unsure if there will be someone that's bilingual, but I will take that back and make sure that there is someone that's bilingual on site for the day.
Thank you. And the question about the hours, just considering that it is that area, I mean, there's a lot of commuters, there's schools and all that. So just that's what I was wondering what the timeframe would be given the traffic.
So the city of Oxnard staff has indicated that that location is primarily used for people traveling to get to the beach. And so they wanted to host the pop-up on a Saturday. And so the tentative plan is for it to be on a Saturday. But we're also coordinating with the local schools to see if we can get kids to come out and sort of all ride to the beach together. But that's still the tentative plan.
Thank you.
Great. Commissioner Judge?
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. Could I get the date on the one in Simi again? Did you have a date
Yes,
for that?
it's at the intersection of Cochrane and Sycamore. And it's curb extensions. I don't have a final date for the city of Simi Valley location yet, but when I do, I will send it out to everyone, including the neighborhood councils in Simi Valley. They were great. They were very involved at the neighborhood councils. I had a lot of great questions and feedback for us to incorporate into this pop-up. So I will make sure to get the date out when we have it finalized.
Great. Commissioner White, did you have?
Yes, thank you very much. And thank you for your report. I only have three things to say. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you for keeping this thing going. I spoke to Mr. Commander Tennyson yesterday, and he shared with me what's going on in Camarillo, and I was really excited about how they get the parents involved, because we both feel that if the parents get involved with what's going on, especially with these younger kids, it'll be a lot safer for everybody out there. So thank you again for your report.
Go ahead. Commissioner Parker.
Well, thank you. Yeah, my question is relative to the pop-up, one-day pop-ups. Are you monitoring the speed in those areas the day before, or how is that being done?
It will be some time before. I'm not sure on the exact day, but it's supposed to mirror the typical day of the pop-up. So for example, in Oxnard, it will be on a Saturday, so they will take data of speeds on a Saturday prior to that. So it's supposed to mimic a typical day. And then during the event. So during the event, they'll have like tubes in the road and they'll be monitoring speeds, and then they'll have people with signs. I know for cars, it's a little harder to get feedback. They'll probably have signs, but typically the consultants have said they use like this with drivers, do you like this or do you not like it? And they take that feedback as well.
Great, thank you.
Any more questions? If not, are there any public comments?
No public comments on this item, thank you.
Okay, great. So we have a receive and file, and then we have item 2 and 3 to authorize the executive director to negotiate the amendment to authorize agreement with NN Engineering, and then authorize the executive director to amend the memorandum of understanding with the Southern California Association of Governments to reallocate $270,000. Is there a motion and a second for items 2 and 3?
So moved.
Great. Any further discussion? Madam Clerk, please take roll.
Commissioner Anderson? Commissioner Broggie? Commissioner Crosswhite?
Yes.
Commissioner Engler?
Yes.
Commissioner Gorell? Commissioner Halter?
Yes.
Commissioner Judge?
Yes.
Commissioner Lopez?
Yes.
Commissioner MacArthur?
Yes.
Commissioner Lang?
Yes.
Commissioner Tremblay? Commissioner White?
Yes.
Vice Chair Parvin?
Yes.
Chair McQueen-Lejeune?
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes. Thank you for your report. Thank you. We're going to move to item 14, the agreement with WSP USA Incorporated for consultant services for Santa Paula Branch Line Trail Master Plan updated and EIR. Over to you, Amanda.
Good morning, Chair McQueen-Lejeune and members of the commission. I realize I jumped the gun getting up here, but I guess I was just so excited to get this underway. So please forgive me. So again, my name is Amanda Fagan, and I serve as the Director of Planning and Sustainability here at VCTC. I do appreciate, once again, an opportunity to share this important planning effort here at VCTC. The focus of today's discussion is, of course, the update to the Trail Master Plan and preparation of a new environmental document for a Rails with Trails project, a Class 1 multi-use path planned to run primarily along the Santa Paula Branch Line Railroad tracks with continued active rail operations. As always, the photo on this slide illustrates an example of what the trail might look like and is for discussion purposes only, not the final design of the trail. The Trail Master Plan update presents an opportunity to invest in active transportation, connections to housing, transit, education, and job centers throughout the Santa Clara River Valley, provide abundant opportunities for educational, interpretive, and scenic connections, and reduce vehicle miles traveled and greenhouse gas emissions while addressing agricultural compatibility concerns. In the interest of time, I just skipped a whole lot of background, and I'll focus on stakeholder engagement and the proposed WSP contract amendment for your consideration. To give you a sense of the engagement that's been done to date, our team has conducted substantial community engagement and outreach throughout the planning process, and we have a lot more planned. The team prepared an outreach and engagement plan that incorporates best practices for public and stakeholder engagement. We formed 2 advisory committees, including a technical advisory committee and a citizens advisory committee, and also a project development team. We've held 4 pop-up events in each of the corridor cities in Santa Paula, Fillmore, Piru, and in Satakoy. And we held 3 community workshops last year with well over 100 attendees and 40 responses on role plot map engagement activities. Presentations were available in English and Spanish, with interpretation available during the workshops in Spanish, Mixteco, and other indigenous languages. Targeted stakeholder meetings with agricultural stakeholders, rail operators, corridor landowners, bicycle advocates, regulatory agencies, and a variety of others have been held, with 19 one-on-one meetings held to date, 7 with partners, agencies, and rail operators, 8 with agricultural stakeholders, and 4 with cyclists, local businesses, and others. I've personally given at least 6 presentations to community groups, including the Ventura County Agricultural Policy Advisory Committee, One Step Alavez, East Ventura Community Council, and both the Fillmore Planning Commission and City Council. We have a project webpage on our Go Ventura website that also includes a brief introductory video available in both English and Spanish. To help get the word out about the project and community input opportunities, our team mailed over 1,000 postcards to neighboring property owners, lessees, and interested parties. We placed 7 newspaper ads in the Santa Paula Times, Fillmore Gazette, and Ventura County Star, and we posted 6 boosted social media ads. We placed 5 radio ads on 4 stations in English, Spanish, and Mixteco. We posted at least 9 posts in Facebook community groups, and we created 3 outreach and engagement toolkits where the information could be shared with the members of our TAC and our CAC, and also PDT members to be shared out with their respective networks. We also reached out directly to farm worker housing advocates and complexes. We will continue to expand our project reach as much as we can through noticing and other tools moving forward. Engagement with agricultural stakeholders has helped us to better understand their concerns, and the feedback is being incorporated into the master plan and draft EIR technical studies and mitigation options. We will continue to hold additional technical and citizen advisory committee meetings one-on-one meetings, additional pop-up events, and we have proposed to form a new Ag Stakeholders Working Group to refine the draft master plan update and prepare for public circulation of the draft EIR. So before you today, we do have a proposed amendment to the contract and some funding reallocations for your consideration. The reason for that is that during an update to the commission in January, many of you will recall, ag stakeholder representatives raised some concerns about potential impacts of the trail to agricultural operators along the branch line. These stakeholders made it clear that we still have more work to do with those stakeholders to ensure that the broad spectrum of their concerns are addressed within the master plan update and the EIR through project commitments, design features, or mitigation measures, and to build trust and partnership with the ag community in the Santa Clara River Valley along the branch line. As a result, staff requested a cost estimate from our contractor, WSP, to provide these services. After review and refinement of that amendment scope, we received an amendment proposal in March. We brought forward that proposal to the commission initially in April. To support enhanced engagement with agricultural stakeholders, the amendment would provide additional resources to extend the project completion timeline, establish an ag working group, incorporate outcomes of that working group into our technical deliverables, conduct additional analysis to define a new alignment that has been proposed by community stakeholders, and also prepare cost estimates for that community proposed alignment. It also includes additional work to perform outreach to agricultural stakeholders regarding the draft EIR public meeting, so an additional mailing. The proposed amendment also refines the scope of work to align with the project team decision to replace the environmental impact statement report of the original scope with preparation of a strategy for compliance with NEPA if and when future phases of the project proceed into design and construction. In response to feedback from agricultural stakeholders that we received in advance of the April commission meeting, we pulled that item in April and have brought back a revised package for your consideration today. It does reflect revised agricultural working group scope and assumptions. It clarifies how feedback from the ag working group and stakeholders will be incorporated into the master plan and the draft EIR. It reallocates some budget to ensure that one-on-one meetings will continue with ag and other stakeholders. And it revises the assumptions associated with task 11.1, findings and statement of overriding considerations, to clarify that it won't be known whether or determined whether a statement of overriding considerations will be needed until the final EIR stage. As noted in the staff report, staff and our consultant team are committed to listening to and incorporating the feedback of our agricultural stakeholders through the Ag Working Group into the master plan update and draft EIR as appropriate. We noted in the staff report one of the important tools to ensure that happens is phasing, and so I've included an example of a possible measure that could be incorporated into the master plan to help us phase this project in a way that addresses the concerns of our stakeholders. That has also been shared as a concern by many of our commissioners. So that Ag Working Group is comprised, or to support enhanced engagement with our ag stakeholders, our proposed amendment provides for additional resources to extend. Oh, I already said that. I need to update my notes here. So the Ag Working Group, a couple of key features. It does include both in-person and virtual working group meetings. We had originally proposed just virtual working group meetings, but we heard from public speakers in April that they wanted to have some in-person opportunities. So we've included both in-person and virtual to make sure we capture all the folks who can't make it in person. We also think that this builds a framework for future collaboration where these 4 meetings with the Ag Working Group don't have to be all that we do with the Ag Working Group. So after the master plan and EIR are done and adopted, we can continue to engage with that Ag Working Group beyond the scope of this initial project to continue to address concerns if and when different segments of the project move forward. The scope also includes consultant support to attend these meetings today. So here with me today, I have David Schumacher and Teresa, oh my gosh, Dickerson. It's too much stuff swirling around in my head, but I have David and Teresa from our WSP team here with me to support for any questions that you might have today as well. So this is just an example of how we are integrating the feedback that we received to date from the agricultural community and how we'll continue to do that moving forward. The Ag Working Group feedback will be addressed through research, coordination, and analysis to incorporate that feedback into the findings and relevant master plan and EIR chapters. It ensures compliance with local ordinances and it fosters collaboration. This is just an example of a matrix that we can use to assign sort of a topic or a theme for the feedback, look at what existing measures are already in place in the adopted EIR from 2000, as well as the compatibility study that was completed in 2015, and then look at additional measures that can be built into the master plan and the EIR to address those concerns. So this is an updated timeline for the project. It does continue technical studies through this fall and master planning through spring of next year. The draft EIR, we would target release, completion of that draft and release for public review later this fall, and bringing forward the draft or the final EIR for consideration by the Commission next summer in June. Our website is still live. We are still welcoming comments and questions through our project website, spbl.trail@goventura.org. And we'd welcome folks to sign up to receive additional information about this project. So with that, I would be happy to answer any questions that you might have on this project and the staff recommendation. And again, David and Teresa are here with us for any questions you might have for the team.
Thank you. Any questions? Any questions? Mr. Erickson?
Madam Chair, I just have one brief comment. Thank you, Amanda and Dave and Teresa, for being here. Some of you might remember the Ken Blanchard maxim, feedback is the breakfast of champions. I think it still holds up well today. I know I've tried to apply it to my own life, but I just want to thank Amanda and the folks at WSP for working to get this feedback, which is very valuable to us on this issue, and use it to move forward. So just a note.
Great, thank you. If there are no questions, Commissioner Judge.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. I just want to say thank you very much for the outreach to the ag community and the aggressive stance you're taking with it, because their voices need to be heard, and I appreciate it very much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioner MacArthur.
Yes, thank you, Amanda, first of all, for bringing this forward. As it was stated, I think it was disappointing that from the onset, I don't think we had these robust discussions, or at least our ag community was not being heard. And it was disappointing to hear them come forward and indicate that they were not being included in a lot of these conversations. But I'm glad that that it was listened to, and that now we're looking to improve and engage with them more deeply. So thank you for that.
Great. Any other questions?
Finally, Madam Chair, I just wanted to let you know we did receive a public comment on this item,
Yes.
which was shared with all of you from CoLab yesterday. Great, and thank you.
Commissioner Broggie.
Thank you, Amanda, so much. I mean, that's a whole lot of information to digest, and I really appreciate listening and paying attention to what the ag community has said. So I just want to make sure that I'm clear on what we're looking at here. So this essentially is we're going to vote to approve the EIR, the funding for that, to finish the entire review process, right? And
So we're adding some additional funding resources to add the consultant support for the ag working group, and those four ag working group meetings and all of the work to coordinate that, and then the additional funding to incorporate the feedback received from the ag working group into the technical studies, into the master plan chapters and the draft EIR. So the project is otherwise fully funded, but this just enhances our outreach and engagement with the agricultural community, and just provides some additional time and coordination effort with that community to better capture their feedback.
Great.
Into
And
the
I think-
overall master plan.
Yeah, and I think that's really important. They'll, I think, appreciate that. But when the EIR is, everything's all said and done, then I'm assuming there's going to be another vote to decide to move forward with the project.
Yes. So after a draft, there are still many steps ahead of us that are already included in an approved scope of work and contract with WSP. That would include technical studies that support the preparation of the EIR. It also includes the completion of a draft master plan and the draft EIR that will then get circulated for public review and then finalized. So it will come back to the commission for both at the draft EIR stage, we'll conduct a public hearing, and at the final adoption. So there are at least 2 additional commission actions ahead of us before the master plan and the EIR would be adopted and final. On top of that, once this is simply a plan, so there would be additional commission actions required in the future to apply for and secure funding for any trail construction, to decide on pursuing construction of future phases. So there's still a lot of actions that would be required both by VCTC and by the partner jurisdictions before any additional construction would happen.
And then my last question, so hypothetically, if we move forward with this and we start proceeding down the road here, if at any given point in time, the commission decides, okay, this is not worth what we see issues, we don't want to go forward with this, then I'm assuming we have to return any of the funding that we've received and put forward on this.
We would have to return unspent funds.
Okay.
I don't believe that we would have to return funds that we have already spent on things like, the engagement activities on the planning and that. So I'm not 100% sure how we would tackle that. I would be concerned about the impact of returning funds and not completing projects and deliverables on future grant funding opportunities. So, I would encourage the commission to complete the plan. We could also, the plan is what we make of it. So if there were, concerns that just could not be addressed in certain areas, then the phasing, the project could identify, those specific areas that can move forward. I would think, for example, within the cities, outside of the agricultural areas, we could move forward with portions without having to lose the whole project.
Okay, thank you so much. And thanks for all your hard work on this.
Thank you.
Commissioner Broggi, I would also just like to state for the record that from a CEQA perspective, implementation of any individual segments would still require environmental review in comparison to the overall master plan EIR, but there would be additional environmental review for individual segments for project-specific implementation.
Thank you.
Yeah, Commissioner Tremblay.
Thanks, Madam Chair. Thank you, Amanda. One of the takeaways that I received from CoLab at the last meeting, what I heard them say, and it's repeated again in the letter that was filed yesterday, was their assertion that a corridor level analysis was not going to be adequate from their perspective. And they were, because it didn't analyze the operational conflicts in potential operational conflicts in their view. There's some discussion of this in your staff report, but it really didn't speak to the dichotomy between doing a parcel level analysis versus a corridor level analysis. Could you please speak to that and what this new work is going to be done? Is it going to be corridor level analysis, or is it going to be parcel by parcel analysis?
So our approach has always been as a master plan that is looking at the full corridor, and the EIR is programmatic in nature to look at the overall corridor. But at the same time, we're doing site-specific analysis, and I think I might look to both General Counsel and to Teresa to talk a little bit more about that approach. That it's kind of, as I understand it, a sort of best of both worlds, where we're doing the similar to the way that a city or the county would do a master plan or a general plan. So you have the general plan with the full EIR, and then as individual segments or phases move forward, like a development project, you would be reviewing that specific segment as you would a housing development against the general plan.
No, I understand that.
Sure.
And I'm thinking about it from a legal adequacy standpoint in terms of a master plan EIR. If I want to make sure that whatever comes back to this commission on the timeline that you've indicated is a master EIR that is legally adequate for these purposes. So maybe the question goes more to Lindsay than to you, but
Well, I think I'd like,
that's where I'm pointed on.
if I can start with Lindsay and then ask Teresa to any details on the.
So a programmatic EIR is by its nature a program and is designed and intended for large-scale projects that are implemented over time. And CEQA contemplates that a project would be evaluated like this because if you actually only did project-specific or parcel-specific analysis, you could actually lose sight of the broader and bigger impacts of a program. So the structure that Amanda is talking about and the consultants are putting forward is consistent with what CEQA would contemplate for a project like this. That does not mean that parcel-specific or individual segment-specific analysis is not conducted as part of a programmatic EIR. It often is, and that would be appropriate where there's specific impacts where it would make sense to do that. So, and I also want to state that, as Amanda said, when individual segments are implemented, those granular pieces will be looked at. It would be legally insufficient to implement a segment if you did not evaluate those project-specific impacts. So it is sort of a two-phased approach. You look at the big picture and then the little pictures.
Okay, so in reality, what we're dealing with here is a program EIR, but then with respect to specific project segments, there may need to be additional or subsequent specific environmental review on a parcel-by-parcel basis if a project is implemented in those particular portions of the corridors.
That is correct.
Right? Okay, so this is really a two-stage.
Yeah, and that's exactly right. And then the project specific, so it varies depending upon what those, you look at the particular project, and some projects all the impacts would have been contemplated in the program EIR, and further environmental review isn't necessary. You say, oh, it's consistent. But sometimes you would look at it and say, well, this particular parcel has these particular features and there might be additional impacts that we need to mitigate. And so there could be subsequent mitigation measures and there will be more granular evaluation at that time.
Okay. No, that's great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Any other questions? Okay, so I know we have a written comment. Do we have any public comments in the room here?
We do not have in-person public comment. The public comment we received was electronic, and it was distributed to the commission, and copies are available for the public.
Great, thank you so
Thank you.
much. Okay, so we have, if there's no other questions, we have before us the recommendation. Is there a motion and a second?
I'll move the item.
Okay, any further discussion? Madam Clerk, please take roll.
Commissioner Anderson, Commissioner Broggie, Commissioner Crosswhite,
Yes.
Commissioner Engler,
Yes.
Commissioner Gorell, Commissioner Halter,
Yes.
Commissioner Judge,
Yes.
Commissioner Lopez,
Yes.
Commissioner MacArthur,
Yes.
Commissioner Lang,
Yes.
Commissioner Tremblay, Commissioner White,
Yes.
Vice Chair Parvin,
Yes.
Chair McQueen-Lejeune.
Yes.
Thank you.
Great, thank you, and thank
Thank
you,
you.
Ms. Fagan. Okay, we're going to move on to item number 15, General Counsel Report.
No report from General Counsel.
Okay, so we'll move to the agency reports. First, we have SCAG. Commissioner Judge?
All right, the last SCAG transportation meeting, we had a special meeting this month, actually. And our action was to move the TDM, which is the Transportation Demand Management for the Games in 2028, to the Regional Council for approval, and also directing the Executive Director to take necessary administrative actions to get the process going. During the Regional Board, I want to congratulate our Commissioner Crosswhite on becoming the SCAG Vice President for next year. And that will be finalized at our Desert Commission. And that'll be finalized at our meeting next week. So if you're going, I hope to see you there. And if not, that's the end of my report.
Great, thank you, and congratulations, Commissioner Crosswhite. We'll move to the Southern California Regional Rail Authority. That's Commissioner Tremblay.
Oh, Bob, I'll go ahead and do it. Commissioner Engler gave you a great summary of the financial challenges and operational challenges that Metrolink is facing right now. At the Metrolink board meeting last week, Metrolink staff recommended or asked, and the board approved, delaying transmittal of their FY 26-27 budget for a period of 3 months, and asked for a 3-month continuing appropriations resolution, which the board adopted. So it gave Metrolink staff sufficient time to put together a budget for 26-27, given all of the challenges that Metrolink faces from a reduction in schedule and also a notice, as Bob indicated, as Commissioner Engler indicated, that there will be a drop in funding coming to Metrolink from both Orange County, OCTA, and Metrolink for next year. So, and these are significant funding reductions, and because of that, staff needed more time to look at what are going to be significant service reductions. And so, anyway, we're kind of in place for the first 3 months of the next fiscal year with a continuing appropriation, continuing resolution. Bob, did I miss anything, or are we good?
If I could add, I felt almost like a congressman the other day being able to vote for a continuing resolution. It seemed, unfortunately, that's going to create, budgeting issues for our agency here. The good news, though, I think, coming from the actions that Metrolink has taken in the past few months, is that we have now more accurate estimates of our ridership. We were working for the last 6 to 8 months with an unrealistic ridership estimations, and that has been readjusted now. And I'm happy to report that Ventura County Line is now actually running ahead of the current estimates. So that's a good thing. Hopefully, given this more accurate input that we're getting, we'll be able to better budget at Metrolink.
And if I might, Bob and I did not discuss this beforehand, so we're tag teaming, but Madam Chair, just one more item. Metrolink's CEO, Darren Kettle, has transmitted a letter to the state to the governor's office and legislators on behalf of Metrolink, asking for $35 million in state operating support for this next fiscal year to avoid that reduction. Where this goes, we don't know, and we know the state has its own budgetary fiscal issues, but with respect to Metrolink, having a consistent revenue stream from the state of California is extremely important. And so we're hopeful that that will open some eyes and some ears in Sacramento. Thanks, Madam Chair.
Great, thank you. We'll move to Losan. Commissioner White.
I could have given the same report for Losan. A lot of financial challenges, and the word I heard this past Tuesday was funding restraints. It's kind of an interesting term. Claire Grasky, the staff person, and I met with California State Transportation Association on Tuesday, and there was a lot of funding restraints talked about what we can do down the road. So I appreciate the information that we received. Other than that, Losan is, I guess it was already talked about, Losan's adding a train from Ventura up to Santa Barbara. So come one, come all. Thank you.
Great, and you can continue with the Coastal Rail Coordinating Council as well?
No more information for that. No report for this month.
Okay, great, thank you. We'll move to CalCog. Commissioner Crosswhite.
Yeah, just a couple of things. At the April meeting, the CalCog board did a vote to officially create a nonprofit entity. And so I think it's going to be called the Cal Regions Foundation. And so that's going to allow them to do some educational activities. So we'll see what all of those end up being, but that they did officially vote to approve that nonprofit. We also heard about several bills, but the two that I will flag are the SB 375 modernization legislation that's being carried by Calderon. And it seeks to make some modernizations to the 2008 Sustainable Communities and Climate Protection Act in order to better align them with some of the things, the realities of today, one of the big ones being trying to change the planning horizon from 4 years to 8 years so that you wouldn't be doing RENA and the Regional Needs Housing Assessment and Sustainable Communities at the same time every other cycle. So those would be switched. The 4 major metropolitan planning organizations in the state spend hundreds of millions of dollars on these planning processes. And so the hope would be for there to be free up funding for implementation in the interim years, and then only do that planning once every 8 years. The CalCog board did vote to approve it, but also to remain engaged, because we all know that lots of things can shift and change between when a bill is first introduced and when it is finalized. So we will be continuing to track that, but they are supporting it at this point. And then AB 2002, which is Jose Luis Salache's bill, which is to put basically a REAP 1.0, the planning funding, to codify that into law so that there would be dedicated funding for the regional housing needs assessment process. It's also being accompanied by a $125 million budget ask, but that's over 8 years. So it's not all at one time, and it's statewide. So those are the 2 bills. So far, they've moved out of their first committee, but there's still a lot to follow. But those are 2 of the big ones that both the Southern California Association of Governments and CalCog are working on. So thank you.
Great, thank you. And lastly, we'll go back to Commissioner White for CalVans.
Thank you very much, Chair. I don't want to sound like a broken record, but there's a lot of financial challenges with CalVans too. Agriculture transportation is so important to us here in Ventura County as well as throughout the state. And we are hoping for a spring-summer pickup literally a spring-summer pickup in number of riders. So we meet next week, and I'll have more information at the next meeting. However, I'd like to add one more thing. I'd like to wish Amtrak happy birthday. They began operating their first federally run passenger rail service across the United States 45 years ago today, for those who are older than 45. Thank you very much.
Great, thank you, thank you. Is there anything else before we adjourn? Okay, great. We will adjourn today's meeting at 11:16, and we'll see you again Friday, June the 5th at 9 a.m., same place.